Good morning, Joanne
Morning.
White, originally from the New York City area.
Yes, when I started showing dogs, I lived in New York City.
And you started in dogs in 1967 in Shih Tzu.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the dog at that time.
Well, at that time, it was like apples and oranges. I mean, the dogs, there was not a lot of uniform type, but we all really loved the breed and we wanted to get AKC recognition. And we went to the shows and showed in miscellaneous class and went home with our pink ribbon, showing against Akitas and Tibetan Terriers and all kinds of larger dogs. But everybody cared about the breed, and we tried to learn as much as we could and pushed for breed recognition.
Tell us a little bit why you are so interested in Asian breeds.
Well, I actually got my bachelor's in history, specializing in India, and then went on and got my master's in international relations, and I'm actually an encyclopedia editor, and I work on articles in Asia, Africa, Latin America, everything but Europe, the United States, and Canada. So.
Good. And so that drew you to
It did.
the culture and
It did.
the dogs.
And I have a huge collection of foo dogs. And
What particular characteristic of the breed drew you to the breed?
I loved their expression, and I loved the fact that even though the dog was small enough to live in a New York City apartment, it was not a fragile, yippy, nervous little dog. I grew up with a beagle and a cocker spaniel and a mixed breed, and I just wasn't used to little dogs at all, and I wasn't fond of little dogs.
When did you finish your first champion, Shih Tzu?
My first champion was in 1970.
And you've been continuously breeding and showing dogs since that time?
Well, I haven't done a lot of breeding over the last 15 years or so, but I just had my first litter in a while now, and I'll probably have one more, and that will be it for me.
Okay.
I'm like you, not wanting to outlive my dogs.
And you are also the author of what I think is one of the finest books on the breed. It's the only book that is endorsed by the American Shih Tzu Club. What gave you the impetus to write the book?
Well, I had written a couple of books, pet books, and I've written the Gazette column for probably 30 years. And, I write for a living. And this was the book I always wanted to write.
Good. And you did extensive interviews and some of the original people in the breed, I assume.
Yes, yes. And I also negotiated a contract with TFH where we got them to print us 2,000 copies of our illustrated guide. They put it in the back of the book, and then they also gave us separate printed copies.
And can you remember what some of those early people told you about the breed and what they wanted you to protect?
The head.
The-
And the coat texture. I mean, it used to be that you could have a dog, a show dog, that could live as a house pet, and you could brush it once a day for 15 minutes and bathe it every 3 weeks, and that was it. And you didn't keep it penned to protect the ends of the coat, and it was a different breed.
So you think that the area of coat care and coat quality is one of the things that has changed in the breed?
Yes, I do, definitely. The coat has become much finer and softer and much harder to keep. And the grooming, of course, is much more extensive than it used to be too, but the sturdy coat textures that we used to have are very rare now.
I can hardly agree with that, and that's also been my experience too. My early dogs were cast iron coats, so you didn't have to have the intensive care that we do today.
Well, my Shih Tzu that won the national specialty, I mean, at age 8, he was still in full show coat, and he was never crated. He slept on the bed. His whole show career, he was not crated. Even when his handler had him, he slept on the bed.
What advice would you give to new exhibitors in the breed?
You have to look for a really good head and a really good coat texture, and of course a sound dog always. But if you don't have those things, it's going to be really hard in your breeding program to get them, and it's going to be hard hard to keep your dog in coat when you don't really know how to take care of a coat.
In a few words, in 3 or 4 words, could you give us the essence of the breed?
Loving, friendly, outgoing, and very sturdy.
Okay. You know, it's interesting because all of the breed experts we've talked to have said the same thing. The number one characteristic that they appreciate in the breed is the personality of the breed.
Oh, they're just wonderful. They give a burglar a guided tour.
And what advice would you like to give to new people or any judge, for example, at judging the breed these days?
I think you need to first find the typiest dog, and then, this is something you always say too, and then find the soundest of the typey dogs. Because particularly the head, which is what makes this breed so unique, is a very complex collection of recessives. And we have very few really good heads anymore because they're reverting to generic dog.
Is there anything else you would like to add to our conversation this morning about the breed?
I don't know, just that I've lived with this breed for more than 50 years and I can't imagine living with any other breed.
Thank you very much.